Welcome back. This is Marc Rudov, branding advisor to CEOs and author of 4 books for CEOs. 3 of them are on branding, and my latest, Duped Again, is on lying. Duped Again, Why Sophistry Works. It'll teach you why people lie and why they believe and accept lies. That might even include you. But it will change your life. It's a groundbreaking book. I urge you to buy it. It'll help you in branding, because if you think that branding is about lying, you're mistaken. Tonight I want to do a summary of Joe Biden's State of the Union address that occurred yesterday on March 7th, 2024. His last State of the Union address, I hope. I predicted on March 6th that it would be nothing but lies. Here's what I put on Twitter. Will you be duped again? Well, the Democrats certainly were, because they leapt to their feet every time Joe Biden opened his mouth. They were totally in dupe mode. They can't take enough gaslighting. Biden's biggest State of the Union address lies. That's the title of today's episode. And I have 5 of his biggest lies from last night. He told more than that, but we don't have all day. Last night it appeared that Joe was hopped up on amphetamines, because normally he can barely put 2 sentences together. Last night he was angry as hell and full of vim and vigor and energy. Here's a clip showing you what he's really like. Roll it.
All of us should reject the dangerous statements made by the previous president that invited Russia to invade our NATO allies if they weren't paying up. He said if an ally did not pay their dues, he'd encourage Russia to, quote, do whatever the hell they want. I guess I should clear my mind here a little bit and not say what I'm really thinking.
You know, the rapidly rising I don't know.
You see, that's the real Joe Biden. That's why people think he's senile, has dementia. He's ridiculed all over the world. Just Google it. You'll hear clips from Australia, from India, wherever you go. They think he is a hot mess, a dumpster fire. And he knew that going in last night. He knew that one of the criticisms against him is that he's too damn old to do the job. And he said, I'll show you. So I don't know what he took, but man, was he hopped up. Normally, a president does a State of the Union address by talking about America. He walks in and he says, even if he's lying, he says the State of the Union is sound or it's strong. Well, he waited about a half hour to say that. Last night, he led by talking about Ukraine. Roll it.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Vice President, members of Congress, my fellow Americans, in January 1941, Franklin Roosevelt came to this chamber to speak to the nation, and he said, I address you at a moment unprecedented in the history of the Union. Hitler was on the march. War was raging in Europe. President Roosevelt's purpose was to wake up Congress and alert the American people that this was no ordinary time. Freedom and democracy were under assault in the world. Tonight, I come to this same chamber to address the nation. Now, it's we who face an unprecedented moment in the history of the Union. And yes, my purpose tonight is to wake up the Congress and alert the American people that this is no ordinary moment either. Not since President Lincoln and the Civil War have freedom and democracy been under assault at home as they are today. What makes our moment rare is that freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas at the very same time. Overseas, Putin of Russia is on the march, invading Ukraine and sowing chaos throughout Europe and beyond. If anybody in this room thinks Putin will stop at Ukraine, I assure you he will not. But Ukraine can stop Putin. Ukraine can stop Putin if we stand with Ukraine and provide the weapons that needs to defend itself. That is all.
You see, if only we would send more money and arms, then Joe Biden will go down in history as the man who stopped Putin. That won't happen. Putin has the largest nuclear arsenal in the world. Joe doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of doing that. But he likes to do it because he can fundraise off of it, and the Democrats can't get enough of it. So here are the 5 biggest lies that I believe Joe told last night. The first one is that the State of the Union is strong and getting stronger. As I said, he waited about a half hour to say this. Well, that can't possibly be true when we have crime all over the place, illegals crossing the border. We're probably up to close to 15 million at this point. They're living in hotels, they're living in airports, they're living on the streets. Fentanyl, people are dying. 100,000 people per year die from fentanyl. That's coming over the border from China. And we have death and destruction and rape and robbery all over our country because of these illegals that Joe let into our country. So to say that the State of the Union is strong and getting stronger is a lie. Lie number 2. He created 15 million jobs in 3 years. Well, if you examine that figure, you'll see that 65% of those are COVID comebacks. According to Julia Pollack, the chief economist of ZipRecruiter, the hiring rate is the lowest it's been since 2014. And Steve Moore, the economist, says that middle-class families are $2,000 poorer now than they were under Donald Trump. So another lie. A lie that he tells over and over and over again is that rich people don't pay their fair share of taxes. Corporations don't pay their fair share of taxes. Do you know that the top 1% of earners pay 46% of the taxes? That's a lot of tax for just 1% of the people. And by the way, Joe and Hunter made tens of millions of dollars from China, Ukraine, Russia, Kazakhstan, and Romania. They didn't pay any tax on that. So how come Joe doesn't always say to Hunter, who has been charged with not paying his taxes? Why doesn't Joe ever say this to Hunter? Because Joe's a hypocrite and he's a liar. I'm going to take the last 2 out of order here. He said that SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, eliminated women's rights to have an abortion by overturning Roe v. Wade. That isn't true. SCOTUS left it up to the states, the way it should be. Some states don't allow abortion because that's what the people decide. If you live in a state that doesn't allow abortion, there are plenty of states that do allow it. You just have to travel there. That's just the way a republic works. We're not a democracy, we're a constitutional republic. And finally, he says we need new legislation to secure the border. You know, another thing he said last night was that there's no place in America for political violence. I want you to watch this and think to yourself as you're watching it that if Black Lives Matter and Antifa and pro-Hamas thugs commit violence all over the country, including college campuses, that's totally permissible. Even though Joe is going to say in this clip that there's no place for it in America. Watch.
As I've done ever since being elected to office, I ask all of you without regard to party to join together and defend democracy. Remember your oath of office of defending against all threats, foreign and domestic. Respect free and fair elections. Restore trust in our institutions. And make clear political violence has absolutely no place in America, 0 place.
Now, there's one murder from an illegal who crossed the border. Joe allowed this to happen. This guy killed Laken Riley, a nursing student at the University of Georgia. The Democrat news won't report it. Joe didn't even know her name. On the way to the dais last night, Marjorie Taylor Greene handed him a button with her picture on it. He took it with him to the dais. As he was yelling last night, she screamed out, "Say her name." So he looked down and he found the button, he held it up, and he called her Lincoln Riley, which proves that he knows nothing about this poor girl, cares nothing about this poor girl, and he doesn't care about America. Anybody who starts a speech by talking about Ukraine instead of America doesn't care about America. Anybody who has an open border doesn't care about America. Now, he says that he needs legislation to secure the border. That's a lie. When he became president, he signed 94 executive orders opening up the border, undoing everything that Trump had done. Trump had the most secure border in American history. Now we have no border at all, and that's all Joe's fault.
I'd be a winner, not really. Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of the thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand. But look, if we change the dynamic at the border, people pay these smugglers $8,000 to get across the border because they know if they get by and let into the country, it's 6 to 8 years before they have a hearing. And it's worth it taking the chance of the $8,000. But if it's only 6 weeks, the idea is it's highly unlikely that people will pay that money and come all that way knowing that they'll be able to be kicked out quickly. Folks, I would respectfully suggest my Republican friends owe it to the American people, get this bill done. We need to act now.
So there you have it. 5 lies that I picked from last night to show you that my prediction, although it was an easy one, was correct. The whole speech was one angry lie. Again, please get yourself a copy of Duped Again. You can get it in ebook format or paperback. DupedAgain.com. Until next time, this is Marc Rudov.